At the end of the day, your brand is what people say about you.
Getting initial traction and then just doubling down on that.
When people purchase your products, they're saying something very specific about themselves.
Welcome to On the Fly.
Does Amazon owe you money? That's what we spoke about on episode 4 of On the Fly. I was joined by Lisa from Getida, a data-driven company that helps Amazon sellers claim back reimbursements from incorrect charges. We talked about how often this happens, why it happens, and how Amazon sellers can avoid it. Enjoy. Welcome, Lisa Kinskey from Getida. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your company does?
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, thank you so much for having me here. So my name is Lisa Kinskey. I am the Marketing and Partnerships Manager at Getida, and Getida is the global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. So that means that we are auditing sellers' Seller Central accounts for any discrepancies with their inventory and FBA, and actually filing claims on their behalf so that they can get that money back. Amazon has a really generous reimbursements policy, a really generous program in general for their sellers, where you can actually go 18 months back on your FBA account and recoup any of those potentially lost funds. The claims do expire, so at some point in time they are lost, but you can go back up to a year and a half and recoup those funds. And that's what Getida does. We find any of those discrepancies for all various claim types and file the claims on the behalf for our sellers.
It's really interesting. This is something that I never knew existed. How common is this problem?
Yeah, so that's something that we get a lot, right? Is that sellers are either one, unaware that reimbursements are something that they are eligible for, or two, they think that the emails that they get from Amazon once every 6 or 9 months of, hey, we're giving you a reimbursement are all that is available, right? And Amazon will sometimes trigger a reimbursement on their own. If they find something that is blatantly obvious and massive, they will reimburse you for it. But on average, anywhere between 1% to 3% of a seller's annual revenue is impacted by a discrepancy. So this can be inventory that's been lost, damaged, wrongfully destroyed. It could even be a seller being overcharged with fees because of weights and dimensions issues. So 1% to 3% of your annual revenue is impacted. So it's a pretty wide swath. And that's also regardless of your geography as well. So that's true of the North American markets, European markets. There's no one distribution center that has a higher rate than another. It's just the nature of the game with how much product is flowing in and out of these facilities. Because, you know, computers make mistakes, people make mistakes, etc. So it happens often. It is very common. It happens frequently. But often sellers are unaware that they're even due back these funds.
Yeah, when I first became aware of this, I was thinking that maybe this is Amazon trying to get a number up on their sellers and try to like pocket more money. But this isn't the case at all. I believe like it is actually it's in Amazon's interest to give these reimbursements, because in the end they want their sellers to be profitable. They want their sellers to be able to sell more inventory. So they are actually quite easy to deal with once you have the processes in place to actually claim these reimbursements.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, your inventory being lost or misplaced even is not nefarious on Amazon's part by any means. It's just the name of the game, right? And it does behoove them to have this program because, like you just said, once the seller has more money in their pocket and they have more capital, they can reinvest in the business and sell more product on their platform. Now, does it behoove Amazon to go after any and every potential reimbursement on their own? Not necessarily, just in terms of time. They would be constantly chasing their own tail, trying to go after every little piece, and they would immediately become less effective. So that's kind of why they don't go after it, in my opinion, on the front end on their own. That's why it is on the seller's responsibility to audit their account and find any of these discrepancies so that when they do occur, you can notify Amazon, file that claim, and get reimbursed. But it absolutely is in their best interest to reimburse these sellers because of the reasons you just said. You can reinvest back into the business and ultimately everybody grows, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. So it's a really great program that they have.
I imagine that like this would be an internal nightmare for them to do, to figure out all these reimbursements. So I from what you're describing, it probably means that Getida is a very valued partner of Amazon. You're doing quite a lot of tedious work for them that they might not necessarily be able to do themselves. What's your relationship like with Amazon in that sense?
Oh, so it's great. It's awesome. We have a wonderful relationship with Amazon. Let me clarify too, though. We file the claims on behalf of the seller, so really we're taking a lot of weight off of the seller. Amazon still has to conduct the investigation internally on their own. So our
Yeah, but they
claims
have
team
it. They have it more kind of like laid out clearly. Would that be the case? Like they have a very clear idea of what they need to investigate using your software.
Yes. So what? Well, it's always very clear what they need to investigate, right? If a seller sends in a shipment of 1,000 units, Amazon only receives 900 of them. I need you to find those extra 100 units, right? The discrepancy is often very clear. There's some that are a little more complex when it comes to like customer refunds, removal orders, weights and dimensions issues can sometimes be tricky. But because of how our dashboard works, in essence, it could make it easier for Amazon. I've actually never thought of it that way because we have the sellers provide as much information up front as we can so that our claims team is able to more effectively and efficiently process those claims with Amazon. So we can try to minimize the back and forth and give them everything that they need up front so they can do the investigation and we can successfully close out that claim. So we have a great relationship with Amazon. We do attend their conference each year, and we actually built a feature of our dashboard in partnership with them. It's called DocMaster and DocMaster Pro, which is a really interesting tool, but we built it alongside of them so that we ensured that it was terms of service compliant. So we have a great relationship with them, and we work as an advocate for the sellers, but we do have that strong partnership with Amazon as well.
I think the question on my lips really is how much money has Getida recovered that wouldn't have necessarily been dispersed to sellers?
Yeah, sure thing. I can't give the exact number. I can tell you that we audit billions of dollars of transactions in FBA every single day, and we have gotten our sellers reimbursed millions and millions of dollars, but I can't give the exact numbers. I apologize.
And I believe you guys work on a if it's no reimbursement, no fee kind of basis. So the seller is only charged a fee if the reimbursement is successful.
Yeah, correct. So Getida is a pay per recovery service. So we only get paid when you get paid. And let me be clear here too. We don't get your reimbursement from Amazon, take our percentage, and then send it through. We never touch your funds that come from Amazon. The seller is reimbursed directly into their seller central account, and then we send them an invoice for our percentage. There's never any account setup fee, management fee. Even if we work on a claim for a month and a half and it's still not closed successfully, you're not going to receive a bill from us. It is only when you are reimbursed.
So we talked previously before the show about being profitable on Amazon and how much reimbursement plays a big role in this. If you're able to stay on top of catching the reimbursements that should be owed to you, that is a major factor in helping you to achieve better profitability. Is there any other advice you can give to sellers who are maybe not so ingrained in the numbers and they don't troll through this type of stuff? Like how can they improve their process to make sure they're as profitable as possible?
Yeah, sure thing. So definitely regularly auditing your inventory for those discrepancies so you can file those claims and get the money back. Because what's really cool about those reimbursements is that Amazon actually reimbursed sellers the list price of the product. So it's as though you sold the item, but you didn't have to pay the PPC to get it out the door. So it's a double win for the sellers, really. So reimbursements is a huge hack, if you will, for being profitable. Another one is going to be, really focus on your packaging. Amazon is a digital marketplace. You don't have to have the shelf appeal that you do in a Walmart or Target, Kohl's, any brick and mortar, where you want it to be really appealing. Sometimes you buy a kid's Christmas toy from Walmart or something, and you open up the box and there's just like giant pieces of cardboard folded over with a bunch of air. That's unnecessary on Amazon. You want to try and get your packaging as true to the product itself as possible and let your listing do the storytelling and the advertisement for the product itself. That way you can minimize those storage fees and your weights and dimensions fees on Amazon.
I feel that like from a kind of a DC background in terms of Shopify, that the unboxing experience is a really important part of that process. Would you kind of find that it's not as, would you believe that kind of efficiency is probably more important on the Amazon FBA side than having a really amazing unboxing experience that's quite complex? And
100%. Yeah, the unboxing, in my opinion, is much less important on the Amazon platform than it is Shopify, especially not as much as it is on Etsy, right? Because when you go to Etsy, you are buying from usually an independent, somebody who is making this product on their own, packaging it on their own, and you want it to give the consumer a particular feel. It's usually a gift that you're buying from Etsy, right? Or something hyper niche, something really unique. When you're on Amazon, you know what you need. You need a pack of toilet paper, a stapler, and a new book for your mom. The experience of unboxing it is less important. It's about how quickly can I get the item? That's what's important. And from the seller's perspective, you don't want to have all of this extra packaging that's going to take up more space in the warehouse. And then you're going to have greater fees, and with limitations on storage that were going on all the time with IPIs changing, it's a more delicate game that you have to play with Amazon and what storage you're able to get, and you want to keep those fees low, so you don't want to have a bunch of excessive unnecessary packaging around your product.
Yeah, I suppose what you're saying there is that the things that people buy on Amazon are more utility based rather than brand based, which they might go to an actual brand's website to buy that type of stuff, whereas if you want quick utility, you go to Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the conversation right now of building a brand on Amazon so that they go to your storefront, look at some additional products. I think the importance on Amazon is going to be the quality of the product itself. My personal opinion is that the unboxing is less important on that particular marketplace. You want to have a quality product. You want it, if it's a delicate item, you do want it to be packaged so that it's not going to be broken or damaged when it gets to the customer. But it's less important to have that. What's the purse company that sprays perfume in every box? Is that Louis Vuitton or somebody? One of them has like scented tissue paper and things. That's less important on Amazon. People want their product and they want it now. So
I know this might be straying away from the point, so we'll go back to Getida and reimbursements, etc. But I'm always interested in asking this as someone who also owns a D2C brand, that's kind of placed in the kind of middle. Maybe it's not quite luxury, but it's not quite discount priced. It's kind of like along that kind of like middle to high pricing. I sell glasses online. And I've often wondered, like, how can a D2C brand compete with some of the cheaper products on Amazon when branding isn't really that important? Like, if I was to put glasses on Amazon at maybe like a $70 price point, when similar glasses, not branded and maybe not as nice of an unboxing experience or not quite as good quality, are selling for maybe $20, do you see many brands being able to compete with that kind of like lower discount price? And if so, like how are they doing that? It's something that has always been a challenge to me when I think about opening up Amazon as another channel.
Yeah, never having experience as a seller myself, I don't know how valuable this is, but from my personal perspective, yes, there's definitely brands that are still successful on Amazon that are not a private label, change the name. There's 8 of the same listing out there. Some beauty brands specifically like La Roche-Posay is doing really well. It's a little more of an expensive brand, but because they have a strong brand behind it, there's still brand building that you can do on Amazon, but it's also really going to be about knowing your audience, right? You're not going to be able to sell to anybody and everybody. Like, and when you say glasses, let me be sure, are you talking sunglasses or like drinking glasses?
No, I'm talking sunglasses and blue light glasses for screens. So if people just want blue, yeah, and there's a ton of blue light glasses on Amazon for $10 to $20.
Yeah, there are. I have a pair. I actually have a pair right here. And because I'm not a glasses wearer, the quality of this was less important to me than the utility of it. But that's me specifically. There's going to be folks who want a sleeker design, who want a heavier product. This is very lightweight. This is very flimsy. Maybe somebody who's on the go and needs them to be durable and work for travel. So it's about optimizing your listing to speak to the audience that you want. Obviously, running some PPC ads to be, successful on the platform, in addition to growing your organic ranking, right? That's always important, and having a quality product to begin with. So there's a couple of pieces that go into it. It is definitely possible, though, to be successful on Amazon with a more expensive product. They have an entire Amazon luxury, like sub marketplace on Amazon. So it's 100% possible.
Okay, I need to brush up on my Amazon knowledge then. Let's go back to Getida and the stuff you guys are doing. Is there any? Sorry, we'll go back to the common reasons for this. I know you've talked to them briefly. Stuff around packaging lighter and smarter. Is there any reports that Amazon sellers should be looking at to learn about these discrepancies and notice them?
Yeah, so they're a little more difficult to talk through audibly, but you always want to check your inbound shipments. You want to check your I would have to grab the names of the reports to give them specifically, but there's various portions of your Seller Central account that you can audit to find these discrepancies of either your inventory being missing, or our dashboard actually consolidates this all into one place where you can see any of your weights and dimensions that might be incorrect. You can also submit those documentation through our dashboard as well for the inbound shipments for anything that's missing. But there's a payments report that you can look at as well to audit your fees to be sure that you're not being overcharged from miscategorized products, or like I said, weights and dimensions. If you have an item where maybe the packaging, the poly bag around it has made it a oversized item, put it in the oversized category when it goes through the cubic scanner, whereas a product isn't truly. That's when we talk about maybe saran wrapping your item, or if you can vacuum seal it so that it becomes truer dimensions and you can get closer to that small and light category and minimize your fees.
So the topic of reimbursements for Amazon, it is quite a very niche and specific business to get into. Can you how did Getida come about? I imagine there was some experience with selling on Amazon from some of the founders initially.
Yeah, definitely. So Getida was founded in 2015 by Max Boren and Yoni Mazur, and they were actually they were e-commerce sellers to begin with. They were selling on eBay to start. If memory serves me right, they were selling luxury watches, and they decided, hey, we've heard about this thing called Amazon. We've been selling on eBay for a little while. Maybe we can do some expansion. So they did thorough research into Amazon FBA before they started selling on the platform. These were two young entrepreneurs, and they had their life savings in this business. They weren't about to lose it and not know, give it to someone and not know where it went. So after diving deep into Amazon's terms of service and discovering their reimbursement policy, they decided to give it a try, because their questions were, first, if I send my inventory to you, where is it going? If you lose it, what's going to happen? How are you going to make it right? All those questions that you ask as a good business owner. So they shipped in their first shipment of units into Amazon. It was 116 units, and Amazon only received 113, which is already like a 6% loss of their inventory, which they were concerned about naturally, but because they knew about Amazon's FBA reimbursement program, they just said, okay, we know what to do. We're going to file the claim and move forward. Amazon made it right. The business continued to grow, and it became over, I believe, $100 million business after they, merged with another business, et cetera. There was lots of growth. And throughout this process, they continued to have these issues. It's 1% to 3% of your annual inventory. And as they were managing it internally through Google spreadsheets and Excel, it was too much data for the spreadsheets to handle. They were breaking because they can get overwhelmed. At a certain point in time, it just spins and you can't go anywhere. So they said, you know what, why don't we build a tool for this? Why don't we build a dashboard, something that makes it easier for us to manage these claims, find these discrepancies, and then we can file them. And after developing something internally, Max and Yoni had shared it with some of their friends that were also selling on the platform and said, well, hey, I don't know how you guys are doing it, but this is what we're doing. This is what we've got going on. And their friends said, oh my gosh, can you, yes, take my money, and it's like, take my money. Do this for me, please. They had something that worked so well that it just started growing with the friends that were selling on the platform. And from there, really, Getida was born. It was born from a need of sellers to help other sellers to grow. So that's one of my favorite things about Getida. And most of the tools in the marketplace is that they were bred from the needs of sellers themselves, where they either found a deficiency or just a lack of resource in general in the industry, and they decided to fix it. So that's how Getida started.
And you guys are at, I believe, like roughly 60 employees today?
We have nearly 200 employees across 8 or 9 countries.
Okay. Okay, but the podcast that I listened to was outdated.
Yeah, we've grown exponentially in, I'd say even the last 12 months. And our claims team alone is over 80 folks who actually used to work in Amazon's auditing and reimbursements departments. So they know how to kind of read between the lines, they understand Amazonian, they know how to file the claims so that we're going to have a high efficiency rate in getting those successfully closed, which is part of our secret sauce to success, which isn't that.
Yeah, you've poached the best people you could there. And we'll just, I suppose, finish up by talking about Getida's plans and how you guys are supporting Amazon sellers today, and what your hopes are for the near future, and how you see Amazon sellers and Amazon stores going as well in the near future. If there's anything on the horizon that you think is coming down, and that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So the biggest theme that I see with Amazon sellers right now is this discussion of global expansion. So before, when I first started in e-com in 2020, and of course COVID happened, and I was working in supply chain, the conversation was largely, how can we differentiate our suppliers to China plus one? Where can I still have my Chinese manufacturers, but if they lock down, I need additional support in another place so I don't have to cease production on my product for my business. The conversation now is really, how can I get my business into other countries and penetrate these other marketplaces while still staying on Amazon? So Amazon continues to expand into new marketplaces. Geographies, I guess, would be the better term, because when you talk about global expansion, you also have the option of going to, we're based in the US, right? So what we would call another international marketplace. So like Mercado Libre, for example, there's a greater learning curve there to understand a new platform, their fulfillment systems, getting to know their team, than there is just expanding to a new country on Amazon itself. So that's the biggest conversation right now. And Getida's goal is to be able to file claims in every marketplace that Amazon has across the world. We're currently able to assist with stores in the North American and European marketplaces, including the UK, but we are quickly working to expand to everywhere that Amazon has sellers, essentially everywhere where someone can sell on Amazon. And in respect to how else we are supporting sellers other than our service, we love to help with education, doing things like this, extra webinars and educational videos on YouTube. We actually have 2 podcasts of our own. We have Prime Talk and Sellernomics, where we speak with other leaders in the industry and help educate sellers on not only reimbursements, but the other facets of their business. So like with Wayflyer, with funding, with any PPC, listing optimization, localization, translations, things like that can help them grow. And we also love to host and sponsor events. We've just merged with Scale for Etail, or become a part of Scale for Etail, which hosts events in Europe and the US for sellers to learn from these experts. And we sponsor and attend a lot of events. Coming up soon, we'll be in Florida for Sellers Summit. We'll be in Texas for Growth Labs and SellerCon. And then I will actually be coming over to Prague for the European Seller Conference and speaking there as well, which is hosted by Orange Click, another great partner of ours. So that's kind of what we're always working on, trying to support the industry as much as we can, educate these sellers, and just continue to expand our reach from there.
Lisa, that was really interesting. Thank you so much. Lots of really valuable nuggets there for Amazon sellers to take out of it. We're not far off from July now, so I will wish you a happy and reimbursement heavy Prime Day.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, and hopefully we can chat again soon. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.